this morning. We're going live at the moment. We're streaming out live, and of course, this, if you are looking later, will have been uploaded as a recording. The idea here is that I'm going to be helping you guys with your English. I'm going to be looking at newspaper articles, and from there we'll be talking about everything and anything. I'm going to try and give you vocabulary, help you with pronunciation, help you with different expressions. Okay, this is going to be relaxed. You can watch this as a video and you can look at the articles with me. You can interact with me via the chat, or you can listen and improve your English as we talk about different articles. As I said, everything and anything. In some cases, we'll be looking at more business English as well to help you guys if you are working and want to improve in that area. But we want this to be enjoyable. We want to not think of this as homework, okay? We want to just enjoy ourselves and interact and enjoy English. It's not something that you have to learn. It has to be painful. I know I'm a language learner, but luckily for me, I can take it in my own time. I don't feel the pressure, and in that way, I enjoy it more. Okay, so often a lot of you guys are learning, you're students, you're learning English during the year, and then you take a break during the summertime, and then it's, oh, I have to learn English again, and I've lost everything I learned. But this year, well, look, over the summertime and from now on, what we're going to do is, you guys working from home, you students, whoever you are, wherever you are, we're going to make this as enjoyable and as interactive as possible. I'm James. I'm going to help you, and we're going to take your English, listening, pronunciation, speaking. We're going to take you to the next step. Okay, I'll be doing this through my own channel and also through my work channel in LK Formación, offering tailored solutions to your business. But as I said, streaming here first, it's all about enjoying ourselves. The first article, let's not waste too much time. The first article today comes, and all of these articles today will come from the International Post and various different newspapers. And the first article is about this man, Paul Sorvino. What happened? At the same time, when we get interesting parts, I'm going to, if I can find my, okay, there we go. This arrow we call the cursor in English. So if I can find the cursor, Paul Sorvino, and when something interesting comes up or a specific word, I'm going to highlight this. Okay, so for example, 83, I'll be highlighting. So Paul Sorvino, the actor in Goodfellas, is dead. Goodfellas, a famous film from the 90s, a mobster gangster film about the mafia. A classic, I would say. I don't know about you guys, but for me, that film had a real impact. You know, and for that reason, it's a classic. I think one of the other actors died recently as well. Maybe for some of you people, depending on where you live, the word die I know it's a bit taboo in some countries to talk about death. So we try to make it sound as nice as possible. And when you say died, it can seem very strong. So often what you can say in English is passed away. So Paul Sorvino, actor in Goodfellas, is dead, and we could say passed away. It's very common to hear this in English. People don't like to talk about death. The character actor who made a career out of playing big guys, writes The Hollywood Reporter, including heartless mobster Paulie Cicero in Martin Scorsese's 1990 Goodfellas, died Monday at age 83 of natural causes. This is what we say in English of he just died. It wasn't cancer. It wasn't because of an accident or a heart attack. It's just natural causes in his sleep, perhaps. Father of the actress Mira Sorvino, the New Yorker had multiplied the supporting roles in the cinema or in television series. In New York, Judicial Police, for example. But he was a multifaceted artist, which means there were many different sides to the artist, with in particular a gift for sculpture or opera. Okay, interesting. Sculpture is a craft art. Most people think I'm either a gangster or a cop or something. But in reality, I'm a sculptor, a painter, a writer. But apparently I have a knack for playing that kind of thing or roles. So a couple of words here I want to point out are to have a knack for something. Let me go, after hitting my light. Just here, I cannot see this cursor. Okay, there it is. A knack. This means to have a particular gift for something. You have an ability, a good ability for something. A knack. Comes quite natural. A knack. And up here we have I'm either. This is an interesting word in English because here you can use the word either or you can say either. It's one of those words. It's neither, neither, either, either. You choose. For me, it comes natural in different situations. I might say neither or either. Or in a different situation, I'll just say either. So it's kind of an interesting word. As well as the word blonde, in fact. I think blonde is the only word in English that is masculine or feminine. I'm not quite sure. Well, I think so. It's B-L-O-N-D for a boy or a guy or a man, and B-L-O-N-D-E for a woman or a female. So that's an interesting fact. Right, then we move on down to where I'm over here, but I want to go up here. Emmanuel Macron's visit to Cameroon divides. So the French president has made a visit to Cameroon in Africa. It's quite often we hear about these countries, but often I don't know where these countries are. So I'm going to look up maps. And I want to have a look and see where Cameroon is. So I'm going to type it in here. Cameroon. Okay. Because often we hear about these countries all our lives and we don't know where they are. Okay. I knew it was probably around this region, but I wasn't 100% sure. And you'll notice I said 100%, not 100%. 100. Okay. I hope you guys are seeing this page as well as me. Anyway, it's in West Africa. So that's Cameroon. Let me go back to the main page I was on. I'm after losing it now. It's Cameroon over here. Okay. Emmanuel Macron's visit to Cameroon divides. Cocorico, he's coming. Headline with a certain irony from the weekly Jeune Afrique, reporting on the contrasting reception of the French president by the Cameroonian press. Meeting at the top for some, Macron on a minefield for others. The one who has long snubbed the country of Paul Biya now intends to, quote, warm up his partnership with a strategic ally in the Gulf of Guinea. While France is increasingly in competition with other powers such as Russia, China, India, or Germany, Emmanuel Macron comes to Cameroon, summarizes the weekly, for Operation Reconquest, because we know that the French colonized Africa and then they left after independence, and a lot of the European countries stayed away Maybe because it just was seen as, okay, we have what we want from these countries and we're going to leave now. There's nothing they can give us. And now in the 21st century, a lot of countries are beginning to try and make business or do business with the African countries. So some of the press or newspapers in Cameroon are being sarcastic in the sense of, oh, you want to come back now and you're interested in Cameroon because we have something to give you. Okay, moving down. Death of David Trimble. Death of David Trimble, former Prime Minister, former means before, and peacemaker in Northern Ireland. First leader of a power-sharing government from 1998 to 2002. The co-winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, David Trimble, was hailed as a political giant after his death on Monday, aged 77, observes the Irish Times in its obituary. An obituary is when somebody dies and they write an obituary in the newspaper telling about the person's life. Often, in many countries, you can tell me in the comments if it's the same in your country, where if somebody dies, you publish it in the newspapers. The newspapers often have pages for obituaries, and it lets people know. I suppose it was the old way, maybe before telephones or when people couldn't be reached, to let people know. And through word of mouth, reading the obituary, people would learn that somebody had died, and then they could go to the funeral, or they would know, pay their respects to the family. It's my guess. It's my guess anyway. It's not, and it's still common practice. I think things have moved very quickly with the internet in the last 20 years, and things that were very normal 20 years ago now seem a bit old-fashioned, maybe. Another thing often is you would invite people before to weddings with formal invitations, and now people are sending text messages, WhatsApp. Like, it's a lot more relaxed. Okay. So the Irish Times in its obituary. Okay, we're over here. This Protestant jurist, who had become pragmatic over the years, had played a central role in the negotiations of the Good Friday Agreement. Okay, so the backstory. Ireland. Let's show you on the map. In fact, I am from Ireland. I'm from here. I'm from Dublin. Now, as you can see in this map of Ireland, this part is divided. And maybe you know about the Troubles, what the violence, especially during the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Basically, the English colonized this island, and over time, there were wars for independence, and eventually the British left, but kept this part of the island, and then in this part here, Northern Ireland or North Ireland, depending on your political. Everything is very careful. You'll be very careful with your words around certain people. Another place here, look, Londonderry. Well, if you are of a certain political persuasion, you will say Londonderry. And if you are, in this case, Protestant, you will say Londonderry. And if you are Catholic, you will say Derry. So here as in many places of the world, there is conflict, and in this part of the world, there has been like 50-50% of the people either Protestant or Catholic. The Protestant originating from Britain, and the Catholic native to the island of Ireland. So there's been conflict between these people, violence, bombs, killings. this is something that is, obviously happens in many places in the world. It gets a lot of, I suppose, like in the English-speaking world, it gets a lot of attention because they're English speakers. But this man was tried to organize peace on the island, and since 1998 there has been relative peace on the island. But before, there were maybe you have been to London or the UK, but in the 90s, 80s, 70s, one thing that was quite obvious for people going around London, for example, was that there were very few bins on the streets, because bombs, the Catholics, there was a freedom fighters called the IRA, and they would put bombs into bins. And in fact, I met a person one time who was directly hit or near a bin when it exploded. That was very interesting. Luckily, she survived and is fine today, some scars and so on. I think she told me she was so close to the bin that it was better than being at a distance. So this in this country there has been relative peace, and now it's in the news again because of Brexit. The Republic of Ireland is within the Eurozone. It has the euro money. It is in Europe geographically and also politically. Whereas is a good word to say but or on the other hand. So Ireland is in the EU, whereas the UK is not in the EU anymore after Brexit. So finally then, we're going to look at Tunisia. The new constitution is adopted with a low turnout. Unsurprisingly, voters... let's go to Tunisia on the map. Down here in the north of Africa, there we have Tunisia, beside Algeria and Libya. Not very far from the island of Sicily over here and the island of Malta, where they speak English, in fact, in Malta. Malta was occupied by many different countries. But Malta is an English-speaking place. And a few different languages, but English-speaking as well. Let's go back and see what happened. So there was a referendum where all of the country vote or are eligible to vote. And this referendum was to adopt a new constitution. A low turnout means, here we have low turnout, is that not many people voted. Not many people went, or not many people came. A low turnout. Unsurprisingly, voters voted in favor of a new constitution with 92.3%. Yes, 92.3% yes. But with a participation of only 27.54%. This is how I would say this in English. 27.54. I wouldn't say 54. I don't know why. You could 27.54, but I think normally you'd say 0.54 of the 9.3 million registered voters, according to provisional figures. The opposition, which is, you have the government, and then on the other side you have the opposition. The opposition had called for a boycott of this referendum. A boycott is where you do not do something. So you do not buy something. For example, if there is a shop, a person who owns a shop, and they don't allow somebody to go into that shop for some reason, and everybody is angry at the shop owner, they'll say, don't go to that shop, do not buy in that shop, do not give them business. Let's boycott the shop. So when you boycott something, maybe in your own language it's a similar word, but you can be from anywhere in the world. So But it comes from, actually, like we said earlier when we were looking at Ireland, in the old days, there were people who owned land, and one of the landlords of a big area perhaps owned and was very cruel to his workers, and then everybody decided not to buy or to do business with that person. And I think his family name was Boycott, and this is where the expression comes from. So let's go back. So a lot of people wanted to boycott this referendum in order not to legitimize a text allowing a return to a dictatorial regime in the country. The cradle of the Arab Spring, explains Al Jazeera. So a lot of people boycotted because if the referendum was passed, it effectively allows a return to a dictatorship. Hundreds of Tunisians had demonstrated in recent days in the capital against President Kais Saied. Now, I probably have not done that pronunciation justice, but forgive me. Who has been in power for a year, and some were arrested on Friday. So, Tunisia was the home of the Arab Spring, and now a referendum has been passed. Said unsurprisingly, so that maybe means there was a bit of corruption. Okay, so let's have a little break. I'm gonna get my coffee. I don't know what you guys are drinking. I personally am drinking Americano. How do you guys like your coffee? How do you take your coffee? If somebody comes to your house, now if you're in Britain or in the UK or Ireland, you'll say, how do you take your tea? How do you take your coffee? Normally, we are very big tea drinkers. Traditionally, I think it's becoming less and less with the popularity of coffee. But if somebody comes to your house, you say, tea or coffee? I say, coffee, please. How do you take your coffee? I say, milk no sugar, or milk 2 sugars, please. Personally, I take my coffee with no milk and no sugar, and just strong. Yeah. Let me have another bit. Before I was taking milk, because I am a tea drinker, being from the UK and Ireland, I'm a tea drinker. It's not a substitute for coffee, I would say, but it's something that you can drink all during the day. And my wife is Turkish, so she's also from a country that's a very big tea drinking country. One of the main differences is, and it's very interesting because where I'm from, people are very, how do we say, particular about how they take tea and the way to make a proper cup of tea. And where my wife is from, they're probably even worse, you know. But the typical British cup of tea, British or Irish cup of tea, is tea bag. Now, I'm going to get in trouble for this, okay? It was my way, so I trust myself. You have a tea bag, and it's always black tea, okay? Unless otherwise stated, okay? It's like saying coffee's coffee. You don't have strawberry coffee, mint coffee. So for us, tea, and the same in Turkey, tea is black tea, okay? What in many countries is called breakfast tea. So when you want a cup of tea, very important if you're making somebody a cup of tea. Tea bag, English breakfast, black tea, hot water onto the tea bag. Leave it alone for around 3 minutes, I would say. And we call this brewing. The tea is brewing, or you could say the tea is drawing. Okay, when I was growing up, it was drawing, and then when I moved to London, often people would say brewing. Let it brew for about 3 minutes, and then, depending, some people will want the tea bag left in, nice strong cup of tea, or most people will take the tea bag out. Careful whether you press the tea bag or you don't. This is a point of debate. And then the milk. Okay, gotta be careful. Do you like a milky tea or not too much milk? Just a little bit. So, and then sugar, of course. So milk and sugar, it's all up to your own taste. The biggest argument comes whether you put the milk in first or you put the water in first. Personally, I'm a water in first on top of the tea bag, and when it's as strong as I want it, I'll put the milk in. But there are some people who do it the other way, and it's an enjoyable debate topic. So I'm we're all very proud of the way we drink our tea. It's very important for us. We do it every day. And then when I moved to Turkey, I was living in Istanbul. They do not take milk in their tea. And if I were to put milk in my tea, they would look at me like I was crazy. So it took me a while to get used to drinking tea without milk, but now, and it's the same tea. It's English breakfast or the tea, black tea. It grows in Turkey as well. The tea from the UK comes from India, but it's essentially the same tea. And in Turkey, they will take tea without milk and in a smaller tea glass. So this is the reason when I started drinking coffee, that I would take milk in my coffee, but it was only because, and I suppose it's the reason why I drink a large coffee as well, Americano, because when we have a tea, we have a large tea in a mug. A mug is a large cup. Normally a cup is small, and it's too small for tea, so most people drink from a mug. MUG for golf. So, but recently I've decided to stop taking milk in my coffee, and yeah, it takes time, but I'll get used to it. It's like the way I stopped taking sugar because you drink so much tea a day that if you have that much sugar, it's just bad for your health. So I think another way to kind of lose a bit of weight or to get out of it's only a small bad habit, is to stop taking milk. Let's continue. Let's go on. We're going to go over here to the most read section. We're going to go down. Let's look at number 2 because we just looked at some elections. But we'll come back to that. We'll go to number 2 in the most read section. Capital punishment in Iran, the medieval return to street executions. Okay. So capital punishment in Iran, the medieval return to street executions. Medieval is a time period. I don't know when the Middle Ages was. Let's have a look in Google to find out when the Middle Ages were. That's maps. Let's go over here. And when were the Middle Ages? The Middle Ages, to describe Europe between the fall of Rome in 476 CE, which means Common Era, or AD, I think, and the beginning of the Renaissance in the 14th century. Okay. Wow. 1,400 years of medieval times. Okay. A man accused of killing a police officer last February was hanged on Saturday, July 23rd. This is interesting here because, and I think it's changing in the English language, we have on Saturday, July 23 over here. And normally you should say July 23rd. But more commonly in the United States English, I'm hearing it just as the number. So Saturday, July 23. So just remember, English is flexible, okay? You can employ or you can follow a certain British style or American style. But really, English is flexible. And I don't think you should worry too much. For example, I am pretty sure, I say July 23rd, but I'm pretty sure in the future it's going to be very possible. And if I were to go to the United States, I would say, and if everybody else was saying July 23, I would just say July 23. I wouldn't, I think it's important in English to be flexible. It's a fluid language, it's a liquid language, it's changing all the time. And that's the beauty of English. Not as a learner though sometimes, because you're learning all your life July 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and then it's July 1, 2, 3 after. It's like, hey, what happened? But that's the way it is. And you have to just accept that English is a bit crazy. Often your own language is quite structured, quite transparent, whereas English will have a rule and then it will just, it's not, then you find out, oh, that rule is only used 50% of the time. So if you take that on board, which means that if you understand that, it will make your learning more enjoyable. Just go with the flow. English is crazy, okay? English is crazy. Let's get back to this. A man accused of killing a police officer last February was hanged. Okay. So this in the picture is the way of killing people, is when you put this rope around their neck, and this is what we call hanging. Hanged on Saturday 23rd at the scene of the crime, while 4 other men sentenced to death in separate cases risk the same fate. The same fate would be the same as what happened the person who was hanged. Iran carried out. To carry out something is to do. Iran did a public execution. So to carry out is to do something. Iran carried out a public execution on Saturday, July 23rd, the first in 2 years. Several media reported, including Independent Persian, citing a report by the Iranian human rights organization based in Norway. Okay. Iman, again, when I have these names that are not familiar to me, I'm not going to do, I'll try my best. But okay. Iman Sabiz Ikar, you can help me in the chat with the phonetics. 28 was hanged in public on Saturday morning after being charged with the murder in early February of a policeman in the southern city of Shiraz, Independent Persian claims. I was actually in Shiraz. I traveled to Iran, a wonderful place. Wonderful people, in fact, and very, very open people. I was very surprised how, I suppose I went there and a lot of people are worried about safety. And I don't know, I suppose we see Iran and we have this idea that it's probably a dangerous place. Very, very safe. Very safe. And the people come and talk to you if they have English. They are fantastic. They have a government which doesn't allow free and open elections, so the people are not allowed to choose. But don't let that, I wouldn't let that affect you. These people are often more modern than us. A lot of these people are, I feel like I'm already insulting them by saying this. Very modern people, very open-minded, very clever. They have a very famous film industry. And their history is amazing. These guys need to be respected. And what has been in place since the 1970s of this religious government makes us believe that these people are backwards, but some people in every country are backwards. Backwards means they're going backwards. Every country has backwards people. But in Iran, yeah, amazing people. And I would recommend to anybody to go there. Okay? As a woman, you're very safe. You are considered, in my opinion, and from what I could see, kind of like you're a tourist, so you're not subjected so much to the same rules as the girls or the women in Iran. But personally, when I saw the girls in Iran, I was in Tehran, Shiraz, it didn't matter. Let's call them between conservative, which would be religious, and modern, which would be just not interested in religion. And the modern girls were just doing everything not to look religious. So they would have colorful headscarves showing their hair back to here. They would be wearing very modern clothes, totally up to date, and lots of makeup and everything, looking very modern indeed. Yeah, I'm going on too much about Iran, but I want to go back there. Different type of people to Turkey. So if you are going to that part of the world, check out Turkey. Check out anywhere around there, but definitely check out Iran, a great place. So here's why would you kill a police officer? Why would you do that? Because if you kill a police officer in any country, it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well at all. The organization denounced a medieval act saying that hanging is medieval. It's from the old days, saying it was worried about the worsening repression of the... Okay, so let's have a look. Iran is the second country in the world after China to use the most capital punishment. Capital punishment is where you kill for crimes. So most people go to prison, but if you have capital punishment in your country, it means you kill by injection, electric chair, hanging, whatever, whichever way. 240 in 2020, 246 people were executed there, according to Amnesty International. The last public execution took place in June 2009 or 2009, according to the Iranian Human Rights Organization. And then we have a Twitter tweet, hashtag Inman Sabzikar, a 28-year-old construction worker. Construction worker is somebody who works on a building site making buildings or houses, was publicly executed for the murder of a police officer at the scene of an alleged crime in Shiraz this morning, just 6 months after arrest, making it the first public execution since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Iran resumes public executions after 2 years. Iran human rights calls for international... Yes. What do you guys think? Do you think we should have capital punishment? I often see horrific crimes, people doing terrible things, and then they go away for 10 years. Then after 5 years, they're free again, and they've probably killed people. So a lot of people want capital punishment to come back in most countries. Well, in a lot of countries, there is no capital punishment. Or do you believe in an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, which is you killed their family, for example, in Iran, it could be, you killed my son, so now you must die. An eye for an eye. It comes from, whatever you did to me, I will do to you. So here's the man. I'm wondering why this guy would kill a police officer. And it would be very sad, for example, if the man had mental health problems. Maybe he didn't really know what he was doing. Maybe it was an accident. I don't know the backstory. Let's see if we can find out here. According to the NGO, non-government organization, 4 other men, also sentenced to death for killing police officers, now face the same fate. They will also face being hanged. The sole or the only purpose of public execution, is to intimidate people. Iranian civil society, human rights activists, and the international community must fight so that this punishment does not return to the streets of Iran. Launched a user. Okay. So what do you guys think? Should we have capital punishment? Maybe for certain crimes? Maybe for crimes that are just really horrific? Or is it the sign of a backwards society? You guys let me know what you think in the comments. And I am going to go back now. So that was capital punishment. Let me see. Okay, what are we going to look at next? What do you think? War in Ukraine. Oh, the war in Ukraine, it's been going on for a good long while now. And what's really sad, I suppose, is that a lot of people are like COVID-19. We just got COVID-19 fatigue. Fatigue is like you're tired. You're tired of hearing about it. You don't want the bad news. Or it's been going on for too long. We want it to finish. Let's go down here. Seen from the UK. In Brittany, the sun is too rare. Okay. So, this is an opinion from the UK about Brittany. Brittany is in the north of France. Over here. I'm going to get into trouble here. I'm going to get into trouble because I can't remember which part is Brittany and which part is Normandy. I think this part is Brittany. And here's another thing. The French did colonize in 1066. The French took over Britain. And I think often they would call it Grande Bretagne. So this is Brittany, and then this is Greater Brittany. And often, for example, you have London here, right? This is London, and this is Greater London. And this means the area outside, kind of attached to London, but outside. So we call this Greater London, in the Greater London area. And then here, this is Brittany, and then Greater Brittany. Not sure many people know that. That's my guess anyway, because the French did rule for a long time. That's why English has a lot of... it's a very mixed language and has a lot of Latin influence. So let's go back anyway. What are they talking about here? Let me zoom out a bit. In summer, the sun and shorts make Brittany worthy of the most beautiful paintings. Alas, the rain and the gloomy weather the rest of the year almost make climate change desirable. Judge this Irish journalist last January in the depths of the Breton winter. Okay. So it seems that the north of France, the weather is similar to that of the UK and Ireland. Which is quite rainy. According to my wife, I have seasonal affective disorder. This is when you are affected by the seasons. So in the summer, you'll be a happier person, and then as the weather gets worse in the winter, you'll become more... It will affect you. Seasonal defect. The seasons are spring, summer, autumn, winter. In the United States, spring, summer, fall, winter. Not autumn, fall. Either one is correct. According to my wife, I have seasonal affective disorder, which is that the rain gives me the blues. When you have the blues, it's like the music, it's the sad music. And the only reason I can't see her is that it's already dark. She's right, of course. Everyone in Brittany has seasonal affective disorder. That's why we won't go to bed. That's why we go to bed at 8 p.m. Here's an interesting thing. In English-speaking countries, we use, and I'll say we, okay, because I'm a native English speaker, we use the 12-hour clock. So if you're talking to an English person, or you're writing an email, or your communication, if you write 2 o'clock, you should write 2 p.m. If it's in the morning or late at night, for example, you write 2 a.m. If it's kind of obvious, like, let's meet tomorrow at 2 o'clock, you can just put at 2. It's not really necessary to put 2 p.m. We wouldn't put H for hours. That's not really normal. You might just put 2 ... OO or 2 p.m. or just 2 or 2 o'clock. But in other countries, here in Spain, in countries I've lived in before, France, Germany, they often use, and perhaps in your country as well, you let me know, the 24-hour clock. If you write 18 or 17, 14, 13, I think, let's imagine you're talking to an American. I'll get back to that in a second. They probably won't understand what you're really talking about. It's used only really for the military. Now, I said an American. Let me tell you something. English speakers refer to people from the United States as Americans. Now, everybody who lives, I know, because I've lived abroad, and I've seen people from the Americas or in other places be tired or offended because people from the United States refer to themselves as Americans, whereas somebody from Peru or Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, Costa Rica, they're all Americans. Canadians, Mexicans, they're all Americans. To be honest, this is something that I think will take time to change, because it's hard to say people from the United States as a plural. So if let's imagine we say the United States, okay, and then I want to say, yeah, like people from the United States always do this. It's kind of difficult, and we grew up saying Americans in relation to North Americans, people from the United States. So people don't mean to be offensive. They are being offensive to a lot of people, but you need to give this time, okay? Most people in the English world will say Americans. It means United States, because you can say Americans, not United Statesians. And if you are from Colombia or Venezuela, you will be Venezuelan, you will be Colombian, you will be Canadian, you will be Mexican, and American is people from the United States. It's just the way it is. Don't get offended. Most people are just ignorant, and maybe over time it will change. Okay. I wouldn't call it arrogance. I would just say it's just people don't know what else to say. Okay, so I'm going to come down here. We're at the first paragraph. It never gets very cold here in winter in Brittany, the north of France. It never gets very cold here in winter. The landscape is sometimes blanketed in morning mist or dusted with frost. So mist is a kind of fog, cloud that comes from the sea, or dusted with frost is that kind of ice in the morning that can appear on the grass, but it hardly ever snows. Where I'm from, it hardly ever snows either. But as soon as October arrives, Brittany drains of its colours and remains gloomy at least until the end of February. Gloomy is kind of dark. Not gloomy, dark. If not April in certain years. Let's go down. It reminds me of Connecticut, where I used to live. Connecticut, okay, let's go. We're going to look at the map here. Connecticut. Over here, I know somebody who lives in Connecticut. Here we have New York, and then up we go. Just above New York is Connecticut. I think a lot of people think New York is just a city. In fact, New York is, if you can see here, it's a huge state. A huge area. So if someone tells you they're from New York, let me have a look, yeah. New York borders Canada. I always thought New York was just a city. Okay. Where are we? Let's go back. Connecticut is a state above New York City. It reminds me of Connecticut, where I used to live, and even the entire east coast of the United States to the deep south. That is to say, Washington in the period which announces the first blizzard. Okay, where's Washington? In the deep south. Huh. Let me show you something. How do you think you pronounce this, guys? Maryland, right? Wrong. Maryland. Maryland. It's interesting when you go to different places in English-speaking countries, or anywhere, I suppose, they often are not pronounced the way phonetically, right? Should be Maryland, but it's not. If you go over to the UK, UK is, let's find something here to see. Okay, for example, reading a book, reading, wrong. The pronunciation of this is Reading. Reading. If you go down the river Thames, we'll come to a place. Did I say Thames? It's Thames. Over here in London, the pronunciation, Woolwich? No. Woolwich. Greenwich? Greenwich. So I'm just looking at different places. England is a very and this Rainham, the H becomes silent and it's Rainham. Rainham. Okay, so like I said, English doesn't make any sense. Wherever you go, the pronunciation is going to be different, and especially with place names, even for English speakers when we go to different places. And I'm sure it possibly is the same in your own language. You can let me know. We saw that melancholy and jealousy. Some more coffee here. Coffee break. They're banging somewhere in the building. They're banging. They're doing renovations. So I can hear the banging. Well, we carry on. Excuse me. Melancholy and jealousy. Melancholy is a sadness. I was thinking about it yesterday precisely when a friend from Cannes called me to ask for news. At the turn of the conversation, he had to readjust the blinds of his office because the sun was dazzling him. Okay, brilliant. We have a couple of words here. Very important words. In this sentence, let's zoom. Okay, I'm sure you guys don't know these words. Okay, blinds. Blinds are, on your window, you can have the curtains that you open from side to side, made of material, or the one with the string. And it can go in lines. These are called blinds. If it's on the string, or if it's something you pull down, these are called blinds. You have Venetian blinds, which in the Spanish language or in Spain are called Persian blinds. We looked at Iran. Anything from Iran is Persian. They're called Persian blinds. And in English, they're called Venetian blinds. The ones that go like this, the lines. Because the sun was dazzling him. If the sun is... I have a light here. And if it's too bright, and it's dazzling me. Okay? You can also use it as an adjective to describe someone. You can say, oh, they look absolutely dazzling, Amazing. How much time do you have there? I asked him, even though I already knew the answer. An azure sky. The weather is nice, but a bit cold. Okay, PFFT. You can put this in a text, okay? It's when you go... So in a WhatsApp message, he's put a T here at the end. I would just do PFF. Perhaps you remember my amazement at the end of November when I discovered on the day of our departure for the south of France that the weather was worse in Languedoc, than in central Brittany. But I am sure that this is not usually the case. Okay, so we're talking about somebody. He lives in the north of France. Or the writer of this article is actually Irish, and they're traveling to the south. At the time of writing this article, the weather in Montpellier, which is in the south of France, Montpellier, a beautiful area, I'm sure. What's the weather like then in Montpellier? Is dry and sunny, with a light breeze blowing from the northwest. Last week on the other side of the Pyrenees in Biarritz, where 4 years ago we spent a wonderful month in September, like August minus the crowds. The weather was fine and the thermometer reached 24 degrees. I must admit that I was green with envy. It's an expression. When you are envious or jealous, you are green with envy. Okay, it's an expression. Let me point out something here. 24 degrees. In the UK, we will say 24 degrees. In the United States, they use Fahrenheit. So there are some differences, a lot of differences in how we measure weight and height and temperature. There's a big difference in the UK and the United States. Most other things are normal, but you can quickly get used to things. Personally, I have no idea of Fahrenheit. 24 degrees in Fahrenheit. Let's have a look. Let's put it into Google or whatever. 24 degrees in Fahrenheit. We need to convert from Celsius to 75.2. Yeah, I don't know how it works. But 75 in the United States. If I go to the United States, it's something I would... Or Canada. I think Canada might be more connected to the UK. But 24 degrees is 70... What was it? 75.2. Interesting point here. It's like 75.2. If you are talking about tech or you're talking about the internet, you'll say, for example, if that is the name of my website, 75.2.com, it would be 75.2.com. So when we use dot when we talk about the internet. And when we're talking about numbers, we say point. And here's another difference between the United States and the UK English. At the end of a sentence, where we have over here, green with envy, the dot here is not called a dot because I'm not talking about the internet. It's called a full stop. And that's in the UK. And if I say green with envy, full stop, and I'm talking to an American, someone from the United States, that would be like, green with envy, full stop. What do you mean? Full stop in the United States is period. 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 In the UK, it's two words. Full stop. FULL space STOP. Full stop. Okay. That is another difference between the language. Easily changed. If you go to the United States, you just don't say full stop anymore. You say period. It's not a problem. Hiking isn't really my thing, cycling either, and my wife barely manages to drag me to the nearby pond for a short walk in the winter. This morning, returning from her solitary walk around said pond, she informed me that another tree, weary of life, had fallen across the path, and that the heron, it's a type of bird, wading melancholy in the muddy water, did not look well. He has all my sympathy. Okay. Wading, you have to imagine this, okay? Wading in the water. When you wade in the water, it means that the water is probably up to your knees, or up to your, I would say yes, up somewhere in your legs. And if you ever use this expression, so you can imagine the bird is wading in the water. That means the water is maybe almost to the bird's knees. So you will hear this like, we had floods, we had the water coming into the house, and we had to wade through the water. So this is a word you don't see, or you probably never learn by here. And this is what I'm hoping to do, looking at different articles. And we just come across new words, and this helps you become more fluent, more used to meeting these words, or coming across is to meet by accident. To come across these words, and that way you can improve your vocabulary without having to look in a dictionary. I'm sure you would never, often these words, you'll never see these words in the books where you learn. You have to practice, you have to be reading articles, you have to be in touch, and most of us, we can't be bothered, you know? When I want to look at the papers, or I want to look what's happening, I don't know what you guys do. Do you look at Instagram first thing? Do you go on to Twitch? Do you go on to YouTube? What do you do? You're working all day. Let me know in the comments. But what I'm hoping is that you'll listen to this, you can catch some words, and maybe over time you'll get used to it. You'll improve your listening, you'll improve your vocabulary, and if a word sounds interesting to you, you can just write it down. My advice is, and I'm open to advice from you guys as well, my advice is one word every day. One new word every day. And I think a lot of people think, no, I want to learn 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. And then you realize, well, I didn't learn anything yesterday. I didn't learn anything. Oh, I'm a failure. But one word a day, at the end of the week, you've 7 new words. 7 new words, then translated obviously into the month, it's going to be 30 or 31 new words in the month. And we don't use that many new words anyway in English. We're always using the same words. So I find it helps me in Spanish. Let me see what I picked up some new words yesterday. Let me see what they were. My search. Recent. Okay, was reseda, which was a type of flower. Ilatura, which is spinning when in relation. These are words I just would never really know. I would never look for these words. But they are words that will help you become native. And I'm hoping you guys, well, look, the most important thing is just enjoy yourselves, okay? Do what you want to do. Magic of summer. Okay, let's go on. In summer, I have to say, it's quite another thing. From May to the end of September, Brittany is a magical place, sometimes even until October. We don't have mountains, but hills do. But hills, do you want them? Here they are, full of forests, lakes and rivers, and which it is said once had nothing to envy to the Himalayas. Okay, so Brittany seems like a quite scenic place. A scenic place. It's got lovely scenery. When the weather is nice, the temperature can reach 25 or 26 degrees, and the wildflowers, such as the reseda, which I can't even remember what it is in English, are for painting, as my mother would have said. Summer is the season for old gentlemen in shorts. In 1999, when we bought the house, it was rare or not common to see a man over 40 not wearing the same threadbare pants every day for 20 years. It reminded me of the Press Association correspondent in Belfast, whose suit was said to be so crumpled it had creases even where there was no fabric. Okay. So guys, we had, I'm not going to continue with that article. I'm going to go back and I want to go into the economy. Okay. One thing I want to, a lot of you guys are hoping to improve on your business English. I want to help you guys in this area as well. It's an important area, and perhaps at a certain point during the program, we will dedicate part of the program to this area where you can improve. We'll talk about things that are related to business. And right now, we have energy, space, health. We have a report, something about interns, climate, agriculture. So we'll be looking at this type of thing again, picking up on new vocabulary, picking up on expressions. Business is a great way to learn new expressions, and we're going to be looking at that. And like I said, just have me on in the background. Connect with me if you like. I'll answer your questions, and we'll be again trying to look at we'll look at some videos, we'll make some comment, we'll look at what's going on in the newspapers, and hopefully I can be with you during the morning. Also, if your level of English is not fantastic, if you have problems understanding, it's entirely normal. It's entirely normal. You probably don't have a lot of practice. Relax. Don't focus too much on what I'm saying. Don't try to understand everything. That is not the goal here, because if you try to understand everything, it's going to be exhausting. It's going to be too difficult. Just be calm, and when you're calm and relaxed, go have your tea, have your coffee, come back, listen later, skip, move to the next part. It's okay. We just want you to feel comfortable, and that way, little by little, your English listening will improve. In relation to myself, I obviously, like I said, I live in Spain. It would be easy for me to say, I can't, they speak too fast, I can't understand them, and then I lose interest. Or my work is always in English. Why? I don't need Spanish for money. I can have these excuses. Or, for example, I live in Andalusia. And Andalusia is famous in Spain for its difficult accent, or an accent that is not considered very... it's not an accent, let's say, that people actively want to learn. Often my students in Madrid will say, I don't understand them myself. But the reality is, I live here, and I want to understand the people, and I want to be able to communicate. So, and it's the same in English. There are many different accents. You can't go and say, well, I learned the American, so I don't understand the Australian. That's not really an excuse. Nowadays, your boss, she could be from Scotland, she could be from South Africa, she could be from Malta, he could be from Northern Ireland, could be from anywhere. And when you're doing business meetings, most English natives understand the other natives. So if you don't understand because you learned American English, it's not really an excuse. We need to be open-minded. All accents are on the table, and we need to familiarize ourselves and be open-minded, okay? It's not too tricky. Obviously, some accents are difficult, but don't avoid them, or don't be arrogant and say, well, that's not an important accent. You never know. You never know where your next colleague will be from. Your next manager could be from somewhere with a difficult accent. I'm aware that a lot of my students in could be often maybe looking to do conference calls, interviews with people, projects with people, presentations, and the people are changing all the time. So be open-minded. That's my opinion. You guys, I'm definitely interested to hear what you guys think as well. For example, there is a place in Spain where it is considered to have a good accent, Valladolid. But then, of course, when I look online and I watch something in Spanish from Spain, and then I look at the comments in YouTube, it will have comments from people from South America or Central or North America saying, what is this accent? This accent doesn't mean anything to me. It's a silly accent because it's from Spain. And then it's the reality. It's the reality of the world, you know? So I'm definitely not going to ignore the accents from South America. They might be a bit different to what I'm used to, but need to be open-minded. Okay, so I said I was going to go into business, but I still need to have a bit of a coffee break before we do this. It's interesting. On the topic of coffee, I'd be interested to know how you guys drink coffee in your country, because it might seem like a kind of silly question, but when you only live in where you live, you think everybody does the same. But one thing I noticed was the way coffee is in different countries. And so let me talk about my experience. Coffee in the UK and Ireland it's pretty similar. When I was growing up, coffee was instant coffee, which is from a jar, and this would be a jar actually. You would have a lid on the jar. Open the lid, and it's dry. Okay, it's dry, and you put 1 or 2, and then you put hot water, and this is instant coffee. Okay, you guys are probably shocked, but that's how it was when I was growing up. Okay, people have advanced now. Then coffee has always been very important in Europe, and when you're from the UK, they'll often say Europe, which means the mainland. Okay, and the islands are the UK and Ireland, and then Europe is kind of considered the continent, continental Europe. Coffee is more important. When I went to France and Germany, coffee was way more important. They didn't have kettles, which boil water. We always have a kettle in the UK and Ireland. And then you go to the mainland, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, no kettles. Portugal, unless some houses do, but in general. So one thing I noticed in Spain is when people have coffee, you can tell me your experience. Coffee here is they'll go to a cafe, they'll order a coffee, depends what coffee they want. They can have any type of coffee. Here at Malaga, I live in Malaga in the south. In Malaga, there are so many different types of coffees, and it all depends on how much milk you put with the coffee. But people will go in, they will order a coffee, and they will drink the coffee in the cafe. And you always notice the foreign people, or people from abroad, because even yesterday I was in the city centre. I was in town, and the foreign people like to have their coffee on the go. On the go meaning as they walk. So it's kind of almost, sometimes it depends where it's from. It's like a fashion statement, or they come from a culture where you can drink on the street or even eat a sandwich on the street. When I was in London, it was very common to see people with coffee and a sandwich on the go. But in Spain, and I think Italy is the same, France might be the same, you can let me know. Coffee is in the cafe, you finish your coffee and you leave. You don't stay in the cafe for a long time. It's not a place to, well, if you're on your way to work, for example, you'll have a quick coffee and you're gone. Okay, you might have a coffee, of course, in your home, but that is one difference I find quite interesting, is having the coffee in the place and leaving. And then the foreign people, or English speakers anyway, it's like, look, I've got my Starbucks. It's part of my fashion. It's part of who I am. I'm a busy person, or, I've got things to do. And it's coffee on the go. Maybe, like I said, bigger, whereas Italians, French, Portuguese, Spanish, smaller coffee, maybe stronger, in the cafe, and they're gone. So that's one thing I noticed and I thought was very interesting in a cultural sense. When I lived in Istanbul, I was very disappointed in the coffee. Now, I'm not talking about the traditional Turkish coffee. Traditional Turkish coffee is a very strong coffee, which is good quality, but it's when you want a regular coffee, let's say, like a latte or something. Generally, it's instant coffee with milk. It's in a regular place. If you go to a good coffee place, okay, you're gonna get a good coffee. But when you go to a regular, normal place, bad quality. And I'm not talking about Turkish coffee, which is different. It's like perhaps the traditional Greek coffee or something, just a regular coffee. Then I went over to Greece, and it's very interesting. In Greece, coffee in general, bad in Turkey, instant. Apart from the coffee shops, of course. A lot more cultural in Greece, and they drink a lot of, I think on the go, they'll drink on the go, and they'll drink a lot of iced coffee. So that's very popular. Spain is incredible. They do not, as a rule, which means commonly, drink iced coffee or a frappe. In Greece, it's very common, But you think Spain, where I live, of course, like, it's a hot country. Nobody traditionally will drink an iced coffee. And when I say nobody, I mean most people, okay? Got the police passing by here, or ambulances. So that was very strange. So often when I want a coffee here and I want it cold, I'll have to say, can I have a coffee, please? And also, can you bring me a glass with ice? You can, of course, ask them for a coffee with ice, but it's just not that common. It's not that common. You guys are free to let me know, maybe in your different area of Spain or the islands or something, but I know this country quite well, and it's not as popular as you would imagine. Now, I'm going to go back. What are we going to look at, guys? Health report, STDs, the rise in Venezuela. STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. Report harassment, sexism, British public health. It's the NHS, the National Health Service in the UK. Telework. Let's have a look. Agriculture. Investigation. Let's have a look at the metaverse. Why not? And after this, we'll just do this as our last article for this morning. Technology. The metaverse will change everything. Where does this come from? Source is Time magazine. The American magazine Time devotes a double issue to the virtual world and to the immersive experience that could turn our lives upside down. Upside down is okay. Here's my phone, and now I'm going to turn my phone upside down. Now my phone is upside down, right side up, upside down. My t-shirt, if I turn it, I'll be inside out. So if I put my t-shirt on and the label it's the wrong way, you could say it's on inside out. All right, let's go. Welcome to the metaverse. In one of its latest issues, the weekly Time illustrates the passage that opens between the real world and this new virtual world. The magazine commissioned digital artist Mika Johnson, a former baseball player, to create an image featuring his own character, a black astronaut named Aku. So this is the okay. This is the art that was commissioned. When you commission somebody to do something, when you commission someone, so you pay them or you ask them to do something. So if I want to do a photo or a painting of myself, I ask an artist, say, okay, can you do a picture of me and I will pay you some money. I commission that artist. The magazine commissioned after hearing a little boy ask his mother, can astronauts be black? In less than a year, his digital persona generated over $20 million in sales and made him the first NFT, non-fungible token, artist to land a major contract for a television and film adaptation. So this has been made into a film, or will be made into a film or TV series. As Time reminds us, the metaverse is a set of interconnected, immersive digital experiences that will eventually touch virtually everyone, almost everyone, everywhere and in every aspect of our lives. The 31-year-old Johnson also wanted the image to evoke a potential he feels has no limits. Okay. So the metaverse is something that I think has been around for a while, but has become more popular or more well known because Facebook has talked about the metaverse and we'll be living our lives kind of online, or I can work online. I can go into the metaverse and create a digital character for myself as an English teacher. And maybe I will do that. Who knows? Could be interesting to give it a go, to try. Okay. So let me guys know what you think of the metaverse. Do you think it is something that will take off, will become popular? Is it something that is just business is trying to push on us? People are trying to make money from this, and actually it's not that interesting. You guys will let me know. And I'm going to leave it there for today. I'm hoping to move on and develop this stream to make it more inclusive, more enjoyable, and also I'm just going to keep trying to help you guys improve. I'd like to interact with you guys. Send me your questions. This is available to you. We're streaming on Twitch, we're streaming on YouTube, and in the future we'll be streaming on more platforms to be able to reach you wherever you are. It's a new style of English that we don't want it to be boring. We want to help you, and we want you to stay in contact. So at the moment, like I said, I'm streaming on my own Dream Better English channel. We'll be uploading this onto LK Formation, tailor-made solutions for your business, focusing on human resources as well. And join me, guys, in the next stream. I'll be here with you guys tomorrow for more. So until then, take care and have a great day. See you later.